If you can hear me, I'll bring that a bit closer. That's not too close. Welcome to the past, where for me it is New Year's Eve, and I am, as you can probably gather by the sight and sound of it, back at the beach, back at the seaside. I briefly went home between Christmas and New Year, where you might have seen that I finished planting the wood store planting, and I repaired the lawnmower by replacing the wheel that I had to take off, and I mowed all the lawns, and then I hot-footed it back down here once I had collected quite a lot of firewood actually. So I was a busy little bee whilst I was back at home. So I have earned myself this other little break. The reason that I'm here is because it is my brother-in-law's birthday tomorrow. So Will and I are helping him celebrate that. I'm not sure what my plans are. I'm not actually a huge one for New Year's. It's never been that much of a thing for me. I've always been much more of a fan of Christmas. So I have got the option of going into town to enjoy some festivities and watch some fireworks, or I've got the option of staying at home and going to bed. So jury's out what I might choose to do, and we shall find out relatively soon, I would say. So that I don't update you with where I am chronologically and where I am geographically, and I'll catch up with you again at some point in the future, either showing you some fireworks or showing you some sort of errand that I'm up to because I decided to stay at home. Well, as you can see, I did decide to head out after all, and I am at the fun fair, awaiting the fireworks that will be happening over there at some point. This is how it's looking. There's loads of people here. It's really very busy, but it was $2 to get in, which is pretty cool, but otherwise you have to prepay for tickets over to Booth there before you can go on them, which is a bit clunky to me. I'd rather pay at the ride-in. No point complaining. I'll capture what I can, but obviously I'm living in the moment a bit, so I'll maybe catch up with you later when the fireworks have started. familiar territory for you today. New Year's is officially over and I am back at home about to start processing the wood. Nothing particularly of note except for the fact that you may recall a while ago now I went to get a new chain for my Husqvarna battery chainsaw, the 340i, and they didn't have one in stock, so they made one for me. I don't quite know what that entails. I assume that it just means they took some links out. They didn't forge it by hand. Anyway, I've never had that done before, so I am interested to see how it goes. I bought the previous chain up with me just in case, but fingers crossed this should go well and I will enjoy. You know, there are some things which really genuinely bring joy and processing wood with a brand new chain for me is one of them. There's nothing like it. I have said to Will, like, if money was no object, I know this will sound terribly wasteful, but if money was no object, I'd use a new chain more or less every time, because as soon as you start sharpening them, they're just never the same. Certainly not with the equipment we have with which to sharpen them. Maybe if we had something more professional, that might be different, but you know, they're fine, but there's nothing like the first few cuts with a brand new chain. Like a hot knife through butter. Anyway, I'm going to crack on and I will catch up with you at some point. I thought I'd give a bit of a practical demonstration of the difference the new chain can make. So basically, I've got this gauge here which tells me how much battery charge I have. And until I replace the chain, in order to get a load as big as this, which is relatively big, the Brumby couldn't fit a lot more easily without it rolling off, I would expect to go through 6 bars, so one battery and half of another battery. But it did all of this on 3, so basically the same amount of wood for half the battery, which is really good. And I think it just goes to show the difference it does make. It's not that I can't sharpen chains, but just maybe I could use better equipment. Nevertheless, that aside, perhaps if you've got a petrol chainsaw, you don't necessarily notice it so much. I guess you'd be having to top up the fuel a little bit more frequently, but probably you don't necessarily stop to notice that. But because this is battery and I've just got this constant visual representation of the situation, it's so much easier for me to see just the difference a new, really, really sharp chain does actually make. So when I say I'd love to have a new chain for almost every time, this is why. It just makes life so much easier and more efficient. Anyway, time to go and process this. Now that the wood has been put away, processed and put away, I thought I would show you the plants that I picked up on New Year's Day to begin the replanting of the Grevillea garden. There are a couple up there from the original plantings which are doing quite well, and some of which we lost due to animal attack. But these are quite a lot bigger. And I am a bit better now at guarding them. Previously I would have put them in stick cages, but now I'm making them out of chicken wire after we removed the old orchard fence and now have an abundance of chicken wire. So I will be doing that. But just to show you, I've got a variety. So I've got this one, which will grow to 1.5 meters tops. I've got this one, which is more tree-like in terms of proportions. And going around the other side, I have this one, which again is more of a compact bush size. And then the Grevillea garden's potentially a bit of a misnomer because I also wanted to plant out some of these. So I have got this one, which will grow much more tree-like, and that's certainly what I want. So I've got a variety of flower colours, from reds to yellows to this one, which actually does have a flower on it, which, as you can see, is more peach. But going back to the callistemum, the reason that I was keen to plant some of these up there is, if you come with me, we do actually have one in the garden. Now, as the years have gone by, it's got more and more prostrate. So it started off on a bit of an angle, and now it is more or less completely lying flat. You may not be able to see that if I get in closer. Can you see how the tree is basically lying down now? We'll go up there later. I thought I'd plant that out more sort of after lunchtime. And this is the area that I'm talking about when I'm referring to the Grevillea garden. This big bush here is one of the original Grevilleas, and I've got one called Woolly Bear Hero, which is very low growing, which has also survived pretty nicely. So down from the original however many, I've got 2 left, but I'm about to supplement them with the additional 4. I don't want to overfill this Grevillea garden, that is not my intention, but just a few judicious plants here and there to add a little bit more colour and interest, but keeping in mind that this is part of my fire protection measures. So I'm not wanting this to become, woodland right up to the edge. I do want to keep it quite clear. So it's a bit of a compromise. However, if they survive, it should be quite a nice addition to my garden. This task is now completed, and I'm not going to show you every single one of them, but just to refresh your memory in terms of what I was referring to when it came to protecting the plants with these mesh cages. I have also, sorry, just tripped over my can. I have also put dung day nuts around all of them, which is something I try to do with all of the plants that I plant out new. That is intended to not only direct and retain the water around the roots, because I'm on a slope the water would otherwise just run off, so I'm trying to direct it down towards the roots, but also to provide it a little bit of fertilisation and soil goodness whilst it's establishing. So here's one. I will point out I've got one over there, the really big one's over there, and another one of the smaller ones is over there. So they're quite nicely spaced out, taller ones towards the back, shorter ones towards the front, largely visible from the house or parts of the garden, so provide quite a lot of interest as you wander around, I hope, but also attract the birds and the bees and the other goodness that I like to see in the garden.